morning and welcome to today's webinar. I'm Jeff Stauffer, Community Relations Director with Elville and Associates, and I'll be moderating today's event. We have a new topic for you today, 10 Early Signs of Parkinson's, presented by the Parkinson Foundation's Development Manager, Dawn Lewis. And also we have Elville and Associates Principal and Senior Elder Law Attorney to thank Lindsay Moss, who helped coordinate today's program. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention this webinar is offered in partnership with the Howard County Library System, a longtime supporter of Elville and Associates educational programs. To learn more about the Howard County Library System, its educational programs, and calendar of events, please note its information I've placed in the welcome message in your chat box on your screen. We'd also like to thank Ms. Rohini Gupta, Adult Curriculum Specialist with the library, whose information is also shared in the welcome message I've provided. She is a wonderful person and a great resource, and we thank her for her partnership and that of the libraries. So how this will work today, if you haven't joined this before, if so, welcome. We're glad you're here. You as the attendee are on listen-only mode. However, you do have a voice. When you have questions, please note them in the questions panel in the right-hand portion of your screen, and we will take time at the end of the presentation to address them. You did receive the presentation yesterday afternoon from me by email for your convenience to take notes on it if you wish. Everyone will also receive a post-webinar email right after the presentation, and we do ask that you please take just a couple minutes to fill out this simple survey to offer us your feedback about the presentation. It's also an ideal time to request a consultation with Lindsay Moss, our elder law and estate planning attorney, for any planning needs that your family and you may have now or in the future. So here at Elville and Associates, we look forward to being a resource to you today and in the future. So reach out to us with any questions at any time. And we always partner with our clients with the ideals of client education, collaboration, and compassion in mind, every client, every time. So it's my pleasure to introduce Dawn Lewis, who has been working with the Parkinson's Foundation Mid-Atlantic chapter since 2019. She serves as an advocate for the Parkinson's disease, representing communities in the Mid-Atlantic states. She commits her time to raising awareness of the Foundation's mission to make life better for people with Parkinson's disease by improving care and advancing research towards a cure. Dawn has spent her career working for various organizations whose focus is on services and programs that enhance the quality of life as people age. So Dawn, thank you for being here today and for helping educate our attendees about this very important topic. And I will turn it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. It certainly is a pleasure to be here today, and I so much appreciate the invitation from Elville and Associates. To be able to speak on Parkinson's disease is a passion, and I am truly committed to making sure that we offer resources to people in the Parkinson's community to educate them and keep them informed on what they can do to manage a lifestyle while living with Parkinson's. I also am excited about this sunny day. I was talking with Jeff earlier. It is so wonderful to be able to see the sun shining because we haven't seen much of it. So we picked the perfect day to come out and present to you. And I want to make sure that you get out and at least get some sunshine and take in the air. It's been interesting today because my husband is at home, so I had to find a new place to give my presentation, and boy, was that challenging, but I finally found a nice little corner that reflects some brightness, so I'm excited. I'm going to get started by just talking about the foundation first, just to give you a little background and history of the organization. The foundation was first formed in 1957 and had begun work in understanding the Parkinson's disease as well as what's happening in the community. And then in 2017, it took a change and they merged with the Parkinson's Disease Foundation, which is located in New York. The reason why is that both organizations felt it would be better to work and collaborate on what their efforts are, where the foundation in New York was really focused on research and also the location, which is in Miami, Florida, for the foundation was really focused on community outreach and educating people. So it was important that they come together to be able to effect change in all communities and educate people in all areas. So we're excited to be able to combine both organizations. And over the past years, it's truly been an opportunity to build awareness and to work together so that we can share information on our findings. As a result, the mission that came about for the Parkinson's Foundation is basically to be able to make life better living with people for Parkinson's. And I just need to, I'm having problems with my presentation, so we'll go to the next page. Here we go. Thank you. And so our mission with, as I said, is making life better for people with Parkinson's, and it is truly a passion. We have volunteers that work throughout the country, and specifically in the Mid-Atlantic area that I'm responsible for, have taken their time to build awareness in the community. And there are 3 pillars that we do focus on, and as a result have become our goals. And it's care, research, and community. And we do this in a variety of ways. With regard to care, we have partnered with several hospitals throughout the United States. And generally they have an academic in nature, and we have partnered to form what we call a Center of Excellence. And what that means is that at each of these hospitals, the doctors have formed a movement department that specializes in people with movement disorders. So they have taken specific training in order to become experts in the area so that when providing care to someone with Parkinson's, that they get total care. And there is an interdisciplinary team that's involved in all of that. Research there's so much research that we need to consider as we move forward. For many years, there wasn't much research being done on the disease. And I'm sure most people became aware of it, more so when you heard about different celebrities, especially Michael J. Fox, which is one of the foundations that we also work with, because their primary goal is research in identifying treatments and a cure for Parkinson's disease. And then the last one is education. We want to be able to empower people who are living with Parkinson's to get the information that they need, providing them with the education, the publications, the resources, and programs to help them better understand what Parkinson's is, what the different stages are, who they can reach out into the community to get the services that they need to help maintain a healthy lifestyle. Just a few facts on Parkinson's. Annually, there are 60,000 people who are diagnosed for the first time with Parkinson's, and nearly 1 million people are affected by the disease here in the United States. We realize that more people will be impacted, and that's why the research that we do and the initiatives that we put in place are so important, so we can better serve people as they move through their disease. And also currently there's no cure for the disease, and that's why research is so important. Just want to step back a little bit. I did mention Michael J. Fox as being one of the celebrities who really have brought Parkinson's disease to the forefront. His name is well known in the Parkinson's community amongst all of the organizations that are here to educate people in Parkinson's. But some of others that you may not have been aware of, Janet Reno. We all know Muhammad Ali had fought his battle with Parkinson's. And Pope John Paul II, which I did not know until I started doing some research. Linda Ronstadt, she is a person we're currently working with on the West Coast out in California. Our chapter there is working closely on her as she shares her journey with Parkinson's. And of course, Jesse Jackson. So what I'd like to do is to give Min Jae Kim, and I hope that he will be able to share his piece on Parkinson's disease. He is a clinical research assistant with the Johns Hopkins School of Medicine, and he reached out to the community to talk about, uh-oh, I don't know what's going wrong here. But he is a student at in neuroscience, and he wanted to make sure that he was able to connect with people who are living with the disease and wanted to share information on the disease itself. So I am going to allow him the opportunity to present. So I'm going to change presenter so he can go ahead and talk about his. Min Jae? And you are on mute, Min Jae.
So Dawn, I think you would probably want to, since you have Min Jae's slides there, I think you would probably want to bring your screen back up. And then if Min Jae could take himself off of mute, he should be able to go through those slides as you navigate through them, if that would work for you.
Okay,
Can you go ahead and do that?
sure.
And it appears that your camera went off at some point as well, just letting you know. So thanks for bearing with us, everybody. We'll get the presentation back up here just momentarily.
Hello?
Jeff,
Wait
I
a
can
minute.
start sharing. I can start
Hi,
sharing
sorry.
my screen.
Yes, could you go ahead and share that screen?
Okay, I just need permission.
Okay, let me go ahead and take back this screen and then I will, yeah, I'm going to give it back to you. So you should see that pop up. There we
Yep.
go. And then you can pull that back up. Okay.
I do apologize for the technical difficulties here.
That is okay. That's part of the world that we're living in right now. So I think if you go back to that PowerPoint, Dawn, and then go back to that PowerPoint and then expand that and click on slideshow.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get to. I'll do it from up here. I was doing it from the bottom.
And go from beginning or from current slide, however is best for you. Okay.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay.
Okay, sounds good. Hi, sorry about the technical difficulties. Yeah, so my name is Minjae Kim. I am a clinical research assistant at the Movement Disorder Division at the Johns Hopkins School of Medicine, and I'm currently partnering with the Parkinson's Foundation. I'm more than delighted to be here to talk with you all about first, what is Parkinson's disease and what causes it. Second, is some of the typical symptoms, and then the third, I'll mention some of the currently available treatment options. Don, do you mind skipping to the first slide, please?
No, not at all. Go back.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Second. Yeah, that's good. Right. So, what is Parkinson's disease? So, Don, I think you skipped a slide.
No, it
Yeah.
keeps
This is
jumping
okay. Yeah.
forever.
Yeah.
It keeps jumping for some reason. Go ahead. Yeah, it won't stay on the slide. Okay.
Sure. Okay. So Parkinson's disease, so commonly known as PD, it's a neurodegenerative progressive disorder that affects nerve cells in the deep parts of the brain called the basal ganglia and the substantial nigra. So there are nerve cells in this region called the substantial nigra, and what they do is that they produce this chemical called neurotransmitters called dopamine. And the dopamine itself is crucially responsible for relaying messages that plan and control body movement. And then what happens in Parkinson's disease is that these cells that produce dopamine, they actually die out, primarily because there are actually clustering of these proteins called the alpha-synuclein. And the alpha-synuclein, they form the small masses called Lewy bodies. I think so if you see the figure to your left, you see all the brown spots. So those are the aggregation of the alpha-synuclein that gives rise to Lewy bodies. And because Lewy bodies actually are quite toxic, and that are the ones that drive the cells to die out. So if you see the photo to your right, this is one specific type of brain imaging called the DAS back scan, and it really shows the level of dopamine and then the dopamine transporters throughout your brain. And then for healthy people, if you look at the figure to the far left, so that's the figure for the healthy people, is that you have a really large defined red hyperintensive areas where there are a lot of cells that produce dopamine. But as you kind of move along to the figure to the right, so that's when it shows the progression of patients with Parkinson's, is that this region actually becomes smaller. So there's the left area that is less red, and as disease is kind of progressive, that really represents the dying of the cells. And then since dopamine itself is very crucial for making body movements and planning those motor movements, then the source of the dopamine are dying out. This is what really causes and manifests some of the typical motor symptoms of Parkinson's by the ultimate lack of dopamine in your brain. Sounds good. Okay. So I kind of want to lay out some of the motor and non-motor symptoms of PD. So the typical motor symptoms are bradykinesia, which really define the slowness of movement, and then sometimes Parkinson's disease is commonly accompanied by some tremor, either resting tremor that there's a residual tremor than when you're currently at rest, or sometimes the tremor is more pronounced when you're making certain movements. And often patients complain about signs of rigidity, so where they complain when their body's a bit stiff, especially during the mornings when their medication is a bit off. And then more often, patients may have some difficulties in their gait. So what they commonly express symptoms are they often say that their feet are kind of stuck to the ground. So whenever they want to they want to start their walking. So that's a typical sign for freezing up gait, which I'll show you in the later slides in the video. Now, while we typically think of Parkinson's disease as primarily a motor disease, there are actually a lot of non-motor symptoms that actually even precede the motor symptoms. So one really core examples are the REM sleep behavioral disorder called the RBD. So those are the disorder when patients actually act out at night their dreams during their sleep. And then sometimes patients do have some signs of nocturia where they often go to urinate while they're sleeping, and then a loss of smell through hyposmia. And then sometimes they express some concerns about constipation before on the early stages of Parkinson's. Now, for the later stage of Parkinson's, in addition to the motor symptoms, they do show some signs of illusions and hallucinations that are a bit on the realm of cognitive and psychiatric symptoms in the later stages. Don, do you mind pressing the video on called FOG? So as you can see, you see a little shuffling of the steps. So that is the typical hallmark representation of the phasing of gait, where the patient is having a hard time initiating the first step of the movement, of the walking. And then for the video to the right, it's called a bradykimesia, which will show. So this is one of the tests called the tool tapping to assess the level of bradykinesia. As you can see, a patient starts with a really big amplitude, and then as the patient kind of progresses with the task, the amplitude of the tapping kind of decreases at the same time as the frequency of the tapping also decreases. So those are the two hallmark symptoms of freezing of gait and bradykinesia associated with Parkinson's disease. Right. So that being said, there are currently since this is a disease, there are prescription options, and also if the prescriptions they are not as effective, then there are some therapies that are called advanced therapies. So for prescriptions, there are commonly two types. The one is called supplements. So typically Cinemed, ER, CR, and Rytary. What they do is that since there are lack of dopamine levels in the brain, the medication is actually supplementing them to have more dopamine levels in your brain so that we can act and counteract the motor symptoms of PD. On the other hand, some other classes of medications are kind of stimulating the currently available cells that are remaining to stimulate actually more of dopamine levels. So those ones include pramipexole, or that is orally taken, or there are patches that can be attached directly onto the skin. Now, as patients kind of progress in the later stages of the disease, that's what happens when the medication often are exhausted, and then patients are less responsive to this medication. So this is when the more advanced therapies are considered. One of the typically considered therapies are called the deep brain stimulation, or DBS. So that's when neurosurgeons actually implant electrodes in the area of the brain that modulates movement, and then they deliver electrical stimulation to improve the PD motor symptoms, just like they do with the medication, but more responsive. Now, this procedure is quite invasive since you need to have a surgical incision to the brain. So other options are the MRI guided focal ultrasound, called MGFUS. So that what typically uses ultrasound waves to target the same area of the brain as the DBS. But also this is non-invasive. the other type of advanced therapies are not they don't target the deep brain areas, but more say so DOPA, so that is similar to an insulin pump. So instead of patients taking oral medication every 4 hours or so, it actually infuses dopamine supplements like cinnamon directly into the gut, their intestines to maintain a steady dosage, so that it can prevent any major droppage of medications that kind of bring about those typical PD motor symptoms throughout the day, and then the fluctuations of these on the motor symptoms with the guidance of the clinician.
All right, thank you so much, Minjae.
No problem.
As Minjae mentioned, there are several symptoms that occur with Parkinson's, and sometimes it's often referred to as the designer gene, because if you meet one person with Parkinson's, then you've met one person with Parkinson's. A prevalent symptom is going to vary from person to person. So where some may experience more tremors, others may experience freezing incidents or episodes, or have speech problems. So it's going to vary, and it will vary as to how fast or slow the disease progresses. So that's why it's so important to be able to identify signs so that a person can seek care as soon as possible in order to determine whether or not they may have Parkinson's disease. So we'll talk about the 10 early signs of Parkinson's disease. And it's hard to tell if someone has Parkinson's disease, but we have identified a list based on what we hear from our doctors and what they see in their patients. Now keep in mind, no single one of these signs means that you should worry about having Parkinson's disease, but we want to be able to make you aware of what they are. So for many people, we're all familiar with a tremor that people with Parkinson experience. But now it's a matter of when we identify these signs, what makes it so different than something we may be experiencing as a result of a medical condition we have, or just something that is occurring in our normal day. Now, with Parkinson's, the tremor is going to be occurring while at rest. So, and it's going to be ongoing. I recently spoke with a gentleman who had been diagnosed, and he had shared with me that he had noticed over a period of 2 to 3 years that periodically his hand would shake, and he had no reason as to what was causing it, and didn't seek any medical care. But then when it became bothersome at work and was interfering with him performing his job duties, that's when he sought out care. And after a variety of tests, it was confirmed that he had Parkinson's disease. So it's something as small as that. And in addition, he had mentioned some other symptoms that he was experiencing. Small handwriting, that's something, that can be a sign of Parkinson's as well. Some people tend to write small, and that's been the norm for them. But whenever a person does experience a change in their handwriting, or they see that the words that they're writing are closer together and it occurs over a period of time, again, it's something to think about with regard to Parkinson's disease. Loss of smell. We hear so much about that today because of COVID. It's one of the symptoms or signs for COVID. But, even before COVID, if you got a flu or if you had a cold, that may be a symptom that you experience. With Parkinson's, it is total loss of that smell. So it's something that's ongoing and it doesn't change. So these are some of the signs that you need to be mindful of, in identifying early signs of Parkinson's. Trouble sleeping, gosh, trouble sleeping is something that is talked about constantly because many of us do have difficulty with sleeping. But for someone with Parkinson's, it's a sign would be, just thrashing around in your bed, acting out dreams. Those are some of the questions that a doctor would ask and want to find out more information. Sudden movements that constantly occur could be a sign of Parkinson's disease. Min Jay mentioned constipation. This was really a surprise for me when I found out that this is not only one of the signs, but an ongoing symptom that someone can experience. When meeting with people in support groups, one of the questions that they always ask is, how do I manage something like that? Because, through normal nutrition and identifying what supplements will help is challenging. And then coupled with a person with Parkinson taking medication, that can cause, even more complications with that. I have heard that people who may suffer with constipation at least 10 to 20 years before being diagnosed. And again, because this is something that is so prevalent with various medical conditions or just diet, people tend to overlook it. A soft or low voice. If you have ever spoken with someone who has Parkinson's, as the disease progresses, you may hear a soft or low voice, or even a hoarseness in the voice. They may not even be aware of the fact that they're speaking low, because from time to time, they may have been asked, can you speak a little louder? And they may think that it's just the person who just can't hear. But this is something that is affected when it comes to people with Parkinson's disease. And that's why we list it as one of the signs that people should be mindful of. And then keep in mind, a common cold, a sore throat can have an effect. But those types of medical conditions, once you have healed, then your voice returns to normal. Another early sign is a masked face. And basically that is someone who you really can't identify what they're feeling at that moment, because the expression may appear to be as though they're depressed or just not even interested in what's going on. But the masked face is something that is a sign of Parkinson's in that people will experience. And I know that people have shared with me that, just listen to what I'm saying in order to really hear what I'm talking about. And then dizziness or fainting. For an early sign for people with Parkinson's, they will notice it when they're sitting, or if they go to stand, there may be a drop in the blood pressure, which causes this to occur. And finally, stooping or hunching over. Again, some of these are just a normal, can occur as a result of a medical condition or just part of aging, depending upon if somebody has osteoarthritis or arthritis where it's causing them to hunch over. For someone who is in the early stages of Parkinson's, and also to be conveyed as an early sign, is that you will notice the stooping, that they are not standing erect. And so it's important that you pay attention to what's happening, not only within your own body, but others or your loved ones that may be around you. I know from a personal story, my father-in-law had Parkinson's, and what we noticed that as he began to age, he was starting to hump over. We assumed that it was associated with that, but indeed it was not. After identifying other signs that he was experiencing, and he went to the doctor, that's when he had been diagnosed with Parkinson's. We want to always focus on what's important when living with Parkinson's. And it's all about the lifestyle that people have in order to help them manage the disease or slow down the progression. It has been proven that regular exercise is important. People tend to exercise at least 3 to 5 days a week. Again, that helps with movement, and it's in classes like rock steady boxing that people participate in have shown significant improvement in people who participate in them. Minjae mentioned the medications and treatments. It's so important that they maintain a good regimen when taking their medications and finding out if there are other treatments out there like DBS that may also help them. The one thing that I like to point out with medications is that it's not only taking your medication that's what's important, but also being able to identify changes. Is that person experiencing more episodes than what they normally do? And so there could be a question as to whether the dosage is correct. So that's why it's so important to have that strong relationship with your healthcare team. And that healthcare team includes not only the movement specialist, which is your neurologist, but also physical therapy, a psychotherapist, someone who can help you with your proper diet. So it's a whole team. And when we look at Parkinson's disease, we're looking at the total person, not just the disease itself, where it's affecting the motor skills. So I'd like to introduce Larry. So if Larry could come off of mute. Larry Zarzecki, he's the founder of a movement disorder center. And he has been working with Parkinson's Foundation for over 3 years as our ambassador. Larry is going to share his story and also talk about one of the major resources that we have available for people living with Parkinson's. So I will turn it over to Larry.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me today. I'd like to thank Jeff and Dawn for allowing me to speak for a few minutes. I just wanted to start this off by saying, if I happen to fall off my chair, don't worry or get upset. I'll just keep talking and work stuff out and climb back up on my chair. I began with what is known as young onset Parkinson's at age 49. I've had Parkinson's for 10 years, and I had an interesting episode happen, and it's known as a freezing episode. And my freezing episode is where the bottom part of my body decided it did not want to cooperate with the top part. So inevitably what happened was I was at the top of my basement steps going downstairs to change some laundry over, and my feet said, we are just going to stay right here where we're at, and the rest of you can go ahead downstairs. So my feet stayed at the top step, and the rest of me, in a forward motion, went down the steps. So 17 steps later, my head stopped the tumble, and I wound up in the hospital for quite some time with not only a traumatic brain injury, but I had shattered, and basically I wish I could show you guys the x-rays and MRIs, but I had shattered all the vertebrae in my neck from C2 through C7. So I now have a lot of instrument fusion going on in there. And where some of them were rebuilt with cages, it looks like a cell phone. So in the front, where you would normally see the trachea, I call that my cell phone. So I was about 2 years in getting to function again. I was given a 12% chance of functioning like a normal human being. I had to learn to walk and talk and feed myself and basically learn all of our basic skills again. And I did. I was very determined. Anything other than not letting this thing called Parkinson's get me, I figured, well, I have all this extra time on my hand. Let's put a spin on this. Let's get it and start learning and kind of guinea pig ourselves and align ourselves with the correct people and learn as much as we can. So just a small bit of medical background really helped launch something big. And thanks to Dawn and the Parkinson's Foundation and a few other hospitals and very large learning institutions, we work very well together. But that's not what this is about. I just want to let everybody know that everything you heard today is true, but it's not the end of the world. Constipation, big deal. Seeing things, well, as long as you don't talk back to them and you're not afraid of them, use one of your team members. Use part of your palliative care team that you've put together. There's nothing wrong with having a neuropsychiatrist. There's dentists that need to be involved. It's your whole medical team. Your medications will work on your teeth differently. So that's better left to the professionals such as Dawn and Jeff and the doctors. I can only speak with what has affected me. So with that being said, that's my story. After being in the hospital for 2 years, a little over 2 years, I went from a trauma center to downstairs to the hospital to rehabilitation, and then was moved out to another rehabilitation center, to a robotics center at the Veterans Administration, where I learned to walk again. And it was pretty interesting, all of the technology out there now that it's very helpful to us. But socialization, please, everybody, be social, be social, be social, be social, and use your experience and knowledge to teach people, and do your best to live your best and not become introverted. And I discovered this really interesting thing called aware and care. And I think I'm sitting too close. So what is so great about this aware and care kit is that it's free. And you might ask yourself, well, what is it? Well, let's take a look at what it is. It's a very heavy canvas bag. I call it my MERS. And thank you all for bearing with my somewhat slow speech. I call it my MERS, and inside you'll find all kinds of interesting things. You'll find your fact sheet, which is very interesting. And what I found important and very helpful is the medication forms. These medication forms are so handy because you can look at your medications and just jot them down, or have someone jot them down for you. Because if your writing is anything like mine, you'll write it down and you'll go, what is that? And you have identification pads that remind. You can put your name right on here, or have someone. I have an ink stamp that I use for my name a lot now because no one can understand my writing, and I am working on the micrographia. So this is great because it says on there how important it is to have your medication on time every time, which we know that that's very difficult. It also has other great things inside of it. The Duopa therapy for people who are on the Duopa pump, it's really great, and it's what you need, and the precautions and how it works, and all of this information is so great. Deep brain stimulation, DBS. There's a card in here that acknowledges you as a DBS recipient. My favorites are the identification card that says, "Hey, Mr. Police Officer, no, I'm really not drunk. I have this, I'm hosting this issue called Mr. Parkinson's and his family members, Brady and Akinesia." And it's taken serious. They actually consider that. The ID bracelet. And one of the most informational books in short form and easy read that I've had a chance to read is the actual hospital plan. The hospital plan is great. Everything we just talked about and saw, there's something in here about that, as well as some pointers and some tips and communication tips, how you may want to communicate a little bit better, because you may find that in certain circumstances, your mind will just go blank as anxiety, one of the non-motor symptoms, catch up with you. These are all great. Now, this kit is actually free, and I'm sure Dawn will give you some information on how to get that. There's a postcard you can use. You can get it directly through Dawn. You can receive this kit from a hospital that's a Parkinson's Aware and Care Hospital of Excellence, which is a real accomplishment in and of itself to be recognized at. And what supports these kits are the fundraisers and moving days. Moving days are a lot of fun. I've taken part in quite a few moving days, and it's great because we get out there along with our Parkinson family members, and we get to socialize, and we walk, and we meet a lot of nice people, and it's just a great thing. So I'm going to yield back to Dawn because I'm starting to draw a blank on some things. But what I would like to close with is, it's not the end of the world. Stay social, live your best, learn as much as you can. And if you feel that you need some help, call the foundation. Use their, they used to be known as rainbow books because of their colors. Each color represented something, and I still refer to them as rainbow books. But the booklets that they have, all of these educational materials, you just won't find a better resource than these materials. So please support the Parkinson's Foundation, live better, move around as much as you can. Things like constipation, I wouldn't worry too much about. You're going to feel bloated, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's just so many things and so many changes that our body goes through. The Parkinson's Foundation, in Living Better, when we have those questions, please give them a call. They take right now about 20,000 calls annually on different things. Even if you are just having that episode where it's taking everything for you inside to just move, or you feel like that wash rag that's being wringed out and you don't have anybody to get you in motivate you a little bit, call their number. Anything that you may possibly want or can think of, they have a resource for. Be your best advocate, live well, you'll be well. It's not the end of the world, as they say. The good news is Parkinson's won't kill you, and the bad news is Parkinson's won't kill you. So be yourself, shake it up as much as you can, and just live life and enjoy it. I'm going to yield back to Dawn now. Dawn, thank you all. I really appreciate it this time. Oh, and I'm sorry about the camera debacle. This is the first time I've used the GoToWebinar platform, so I apologize for that, everyone. So stay well, and I hope we get to speak again soon. Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you, Larry. Yeah, Larry and I have been the dynamic duo in traveling around to, share information on what we do and what's available for people living with Parkinson's. And he's right. This series of books that we offer is on almost every topic. There's 10 books. Now, while they were designed for people with Parkinson's, many of these symptoms apply to any other illness as far as when it's caring and coping with somebody, even our fitness. It's fitness, it's cognition, and cognition is something, that many people struggle with as we age. I know, the senior moments that occur with me, but it's good information and you're welcome to take advantage of it, even if you do not have Parkinson's, but if you know someone who does have Parkinson's, please share this information with them. Also, we have a newly diagnosed kit because we found that people who are newly diagnosed just don't know where to turn to. So we like to make sure that people are aware of this so that they can identify what their next steps should be, questions that they should be asking of a doctor, and what's the difference between a movement specialist and a neurologist that I normally see. So it provides that clarification so that you have a better understanding. And then also, as Larry mentioned, encouraging socialization, getting out there and exercising. And I want to close with a couple of upcoming events that we're having. And we always have education webinars that are available. We have one coming up in April, but I first want to talk about the ones that we have currently every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We refer to them as Mindfulness Monday, that focuses on mental and mindful things just to help manage our anxieties, and especially now with COVID. And then Wellness Wednesdays, that talks about different topics in which our doctor, Dr. Okun, presents on. And then Fitness Friday. Exercise is good for everyone. So if you are looking for some type of exercise program, you can join us on Fridays. And what's nice is for those people who don't want to go live with virtual events, we record everything and it's archived so you can pull it up at any time that's convenient for you. And then in April, we have our Mind, Mood, and Motion. And Dr. Pontone, who's with Johns Hopkins, will be our presenter. Johns Hopkins is one of our centers of excellence, and we work closely with them. The other hospital that we work closely with is Georgetown University. Larry did mention Moving Day. We're having one here in Columbia that's going to take place on May 1st. And then we have another one in DC. We're going to have a contactless in-person drive-through. So that should be really interesting. And that's something that we're putting together. And you're welcome to join us since we're going to be in those areas. And lastly, I just want to let you know, this is information on how you can reach out to us. You can visit our website, parkinson.org, or call our helpline, or just contact me directly. I'd be happy to have a conversation with you and provide you with any information that you may be seeking. I would like to thank you again for attending the event and being patient and working through our challenges as we present to you. It's been a pleasure for us, and I hope that you've been able to learn a little bit more about Parkinson's disease and how to identify the 10 early signs for Parkinson's. So with that, Jeff, I'll turn it back over to you.
Well, thank you, Dawn. And so now, just want to let everybody know if there are any questions that anybody has, now would be your time to go ahead and post those in the questions panel as we go ahead and wrap up here in the next couple minutes. And I do want to thank Dawn, Min-Jae, and Larry for their time and their expertise today. Larry, your story is truly inspirational. Really appreciate you coming on to share your story and talking a little bit about your experiences with Parkinson's. And I mean, that was the best part of my day, is listening to you talk and seeing you today. And Dawn, just wanted to mention, I think you mentioned Larry had started a foundation over the past several years, and I did a little bit of background on it this morning. Is that something you wanted to mention a little bit about? Is there anything that I can send out in my follow-up email that I send out to our attendees about that organization?
I think it's a great organization. And Larry, why don't you share? Well, I'll share with Larry until he gets on, but yes, that would be fantastic. His center is located in Westminster, Maryland, and he has done a tremendous job in connecting with people with Parkinson's and helping them get out there and exercise. I mean, he has formed his own community there, and I've had several opportunities to talk with people, so I would definitely share that.
Okay, and is that called the Movement Disorder Education Exercise Inc., if I'm correct?
Yes.
Is that right? Okay,
Yes,
so
it
I'll
is.
go ahead. Yeah, I'll go ahead and share a link to that that I found in my follow-up email to everybody if you want to look into that a little bit more, as well as I sent the slides out to everybody, so you should have additional information about the Parkinson's Foundation and all of its resources, as you can see, which are very plentiful to benefit families and those that are living with Parkinson's on a daily basis. So just great information. Just briefly, I'll be sending the video out for today's presentation, as I always do, to everybody by the end of today. And just want to mention a couple of other events that we have coming up over the next few weeks. We have next Friday, March 5th, Megan McCullough, one of our attorneys and principals here at Eldon Associates, talking about navigating Social Security disability. And that is a new topic of ours here at the Eldon webinar series. March 17th, backed by popular demand, we have part 2 of everything you always wanted to know about seniors, real estate, and more with Miss Victoria Hathaway. She is the director of the Silver Group of the Bob Lucido team of Keller Williams Integrity, and that was certainly one of our most popular, if not most popular, webinars we've hosted in the past year plus. So that's something that you certainly don't want to miss. And March 19th, we are getting back to basics and talking about estate planning essentials with estate planning attorney Nicole Livingston with Eldon Associates. So a few things to keep on the calendar and put on the calendar if you are interested in attending. So we look forward to seeing you soon again. And I will check to see if we have any additional questions here before we call this a day. You can get out and enjoy the sunshine and do some exercising, which I need to do. Let's see here. So we have one of our friends, Mr. Joe Sperling of Joe Sperling Insurance, just saying, revelatory, inspiring, and excellent departure from the usual estate planning webinars. I will take that as a compliment to the great job that the Parkinson's Foundation, Dawn, and Larry and Min Jae did today. So thank you, Joe, for that comment. And so it doesn't look like we have any questions here, unless I'm going to check the chat box here. And Larry says, thank you, everybody, for having me. It was a pleasure having you, Larry. Thank you very much. So actually, we do have one question here. And let's see, Dawn, I'll pose it to you. It says, I have 2 family members who have or had PD. My mother was diagnosed in her 40s. Let's see if I can get to the full question. 1 second here. My mother was diagnosed in her 40s, and doctors told her at some point that hers may have been a result of having the 1918 flu. My brother was diagnosed a couple of years ago, and he was told that his may have been caused by Agent Orange exposure in Vietnam. Could you comment on these associations?
I haven't heard about any connection with the Asian flu. And again, that can be attributed to the fact that there wasn't much research going on at that particular time. And even today, in identifying that as a possible cause, I do know that there's current research with regard to Agent Orange, because we've been working with the Veterans Association since they have a significant amount of people who have been veterans who have been diagnosed with Parkinson's. And we're trying to understand if there's some correlation there, especially given the number of people affected. So yes, some current research is going on, and if she's interested, I can always send that information out so that she can read about the studies and get the details on that.
Great,
And Min
thank you.
Jae, is there anything you'd like to add? Because I know Min Jae is also involved in research as well.
Yeah, sure. So I don't know anything about the association between the Parkinson's disease and the Asian flu per se. So I'm not a movement disorder specialist, so I think it might be better if you direct the question to your neurologist or your primary physician.
Yeah, okay. And yeah, and I'm going to share information on the studies as well.
Yeah, thank you for the question, Kathleen. So if there are no other questions, again, thank you everybody for being here today and your support of the Elville webinar series. We're always trying to offer some, along with our traditional webinars, a lot of new topics, including this one and many that we have coming up. And we look forward to seeing you on another event soon. So again, Larry, Min Jae, and Dawn, thank you for being here today. Thanks to everybody that attended, and we look forward to seeing you on another event soon. Actually, one more question here. Maybe a comment from Mark. Can you, I'm not really sure here. It says, can you speed up VAA claims?
Oh,
Does that make sense to you?
I'm thinking about VA, if I'm at the Veterans Association.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can think of. That is a tough thing to do. But
it certainly is.
Yeah.
It's something that we work with here at the firm. Mark, if you want to reach out to us or and maybe speak further to us about that, that's something we can certainly help you with. So reach out to us if you want to talk further about that.
Mm-hmm. And then also, because of our new partnership, we have a contact at the VA with regard to Parkinson's.
Okay. All right, very good. Well, thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful day and enjoy this nice weather.
Thank you.
Take care. Thanks for being here. Bye-bye.